But my question is, if that's such a good move, which it sounds like it is, right? Why haven't they done it?
Right.
Why aren't they? And another just general question, I guess that's it's such a fascinating question is why don't rich people do philanthropy like that anymore?
All right, we're rolling. Go ahead.
Welcome back to the MCT Podcast. This is episode 8 in the studio, unless I'm wrong. No, that's correct. All right.
Pickleball studio.
We are back in the pickleball
say that every
studio.
time, I think.
Sponsored
I
by
do.
Dollop. Visit heydollop.com to pick up some single ingredient lip balm.
Good stuff too. Really good stuff. I think I've said that before too, but it's real. It's true.
But we wanted to circle back.
And we just gave our favorite barista. Is it barista?
It is
our
barista.
favorite barista at Dessert Oasis.
Okay.
Can we say that? I can say that. I just did say that, I guess. So, Dessert Oasis in Rochester, Michigan, we just gave her a going away present of some free Dollop single ingredient lip balm. And she loves the stuff. So,
does.
and she's moving on to Florida, so she's going to need it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, good point. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, we're circling right back to Ryan from last week's topic. We all named our top 3 books and gave an explanation for each. So putting you right on the spot.
Top 3 books. Now you're talking like any book, any genre?
Any book or any...
We
I think-
excluded religious texts.
Yes, we did do that. You're right.
Okay.
That was all.
So it's literally just top 3 favorite books.
Well, there was a little bit of a theme between Jonathan and I as we got, 2. We kind of went 3 different directions, and then the third one was like a childhood book, but it can be anything that
Anything
is
you want.
useful or entertaining or whatever you want. Yeah.
Pretty wide open because you've read a few books in your
I've
lifetime.
read a few books. Yeah. I like books every now and again. My 3 favorite books. Okay. Wow. Okay, yeah, you are putting me on the spot here. All right, so in no particular order, I will probably say Think and Grow Rich.
Yo,
Really
What'd I
like
tell you
that
guys?
book.
What'd I tell you? Do I know them or not?
Always an enjoyable read, even if some of it is a
Napoleon.
little kooky at times.
Well, yes.
certain chapters, but for the most part, I think it's awesome. Good general advice. Then in addition to that, wow,
Yeah, World of Warcraft.
what's up?
World of Warcraft.
I'll tell you one that I didn't add. My favorite personal book, and I read it as a young adult. I read it. That was Stephen King's The Stand. You haven't read that? That's all about good and evil. Really a fascinating book. One of my favorite. I know they turned it into it was so long. I think it was like 1,600 pages. Also one of the longest books I've ever read. But it was it's one of those books that you just couldn't put down. And they couldn't make it into a movie because it was too darn long.
Yeah.
I think they made it into kind of a mini series.
Yeah.
And I think I remember watching it. It's actually pretty good. So yeah.
Another favorite of mine that's got to be Storm of Swords, which is the 3rd book from the Game of Thrones series. That 3rd one, if it ended there, it would be just one of the best fantasy trilogies of all time. Because basically every major storyline comes to a conclusion, right? If you guys have seen Game of Thrones, that's where the Red Wedding happens. It's where the Purple Wedding happens, where Joffrey's poisoned. So many of the big climactic storylines happen there. And it's riveting. I mean, I knew generally what was happening too when I was reading it, and I couldn't put it down. It's one of those few books where I genuinely can say I could not put it down. Every moment I was just like, I gotta know what happens next. I got to know. And that's a rare, moment when that can happen for you. And then the last one, is probably, God, top 3. That's so hard because there's so many I can choose. I'm gonna go with Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Another
one.
good
Another one.
self-help
Some
book.
overlap.
Atomic Habits is fantastic. Great book.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to expand on that. It's just great. You should
Yeah,
read
it
it
is.
if you haven't.
It is.
Yep. You haven't read it.
Did we hit on 2 out of those
Yep.
3?
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
All right,
2 out of
there you
those
go.
3. So yeah, there you go. They must be great. I think
All
they
right,
are.
so
If we say so.
we have 10 minutes.
Yes.
on-
Well, I really want to talk about today in our podcast is kind of what we're all going through right now. And we go through it every couple months or so. And that's how we test. How we go through our software, test it. And, AI is a big, and there is that story out of Texas, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen that story out of Texas where they just shot down, I guess, the government of Texas, the state just knocked down that they were going to build, I don't know, do you guys remember how many it was? It was a whole bunch of data centers, and they just shut it down because the amount of power. I think it was. You guys remember? Did you guys see the story or no?
I heard about it.
You heard about it, okay? And you heard about it as well.
Yeah, I heard
I
about
think it was 10 times the amount of power that was the whole entire state uses. They were going to require for these data centers. So we've talked about this in the past in our previous podcasts about one of the AI challenges and is just to get enough power to generate what the computers need. Also, how to cool all those is also taking more electricity and more power to actually cool what's going on. So it's interesting that their requirements were, the amount of power was again 10 times what the entire state uses. So they actually turned that down. So if that continues to happen and states continue to do that, that could be a bottleneck for a lot of the future. What's going to happen with AI and its growth potential.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. So we've talked about, and we kind of laughed at the CEOs of these AI companies and said, yeah, they're all, you guys put it better than I did. They're all kind of looking at the world to end or something to that extent. And this will stop the world from ending a little quicker if so if that kind of stuff happens.
About this predicament is, I mean, obviously these AI companies are well funded. Right.
Oh, sure.
That doesn't mean they have infinite money, but they're well funded. The obvious solution here is for these companies to provide funding for the infrastructure, right? Because then it's a net positive for both. The AI companies get their data centers. The state gets better and more infrastructure for their grid, for their power grid, right? Because how many times have we went into super freezing temperatures or very hot summers, and they're like, oh, the grid can't handle it. The grid can't handle it. Well, here's your solution, right? So like I said, I'm not saying the AI companies just have all this money to build infrastructure for a state, but that could be a solution to solve two problems at once, right? Because then there's an element of just public sentiment about data centers. It's like, okay, maybe they're going to be more taxing, maybe there's going to be more sound, but the companies that are building these are actually investing in the energy and the livelihoods in a sense.
Yeah, but my guess on that story was probably they were probably asking the states to help fund that,
right.
and the states are already probably pretty stretched, and they don't, and their budgets are already in place for and depending on the state, of course, this was Texas, which I think is a fairly well run state from an economical standpoint, but but again, I think they're asking the government to pay for a lot of that, that stuff, and I don't. They're well funded, yes, but not for that, right?
Well, exactly, but even so, even if it was a project that they wanted to undertake, right? I mean, I think the Rockefellers were like this. Bill Gates was like this. They were essentially unilaterally hated, and then they started philanthropy, and everyone loves Bill Gates now because he gives all of his money away.
Well, until the Jeffrey Epstein thing came out, right?
right. But what I'm saying is,
did I digress?
It's a very it's a psychological play, but it's for public opinion, right? If the AI companies want to build the data centers and they're working to invest in the communities that these data centers go, it's going to go a long way.
Sure,
right? It might not show up on the bottom line right away, but if all AI companies are evil, it's like, oh, Anthropic or OpenAI is investing in the community. It's like, maybe I'll use ChatGPT, whatever it is, and people are using stuff.
If I could point to like an AI company being a reason that my power bill went down. Or during like a freeze, like you said, that all of a sudden we actually have excess power because of the data center construction. I can guarantee you a lot of people would turn around their opinions on data centers pretty quickly. But my question is, if that's such a good move, which it sounds like it is, right? Why haven't they done it?
Right.
Why aren't they? And just general question, I guess that's it's such a fascinating question is why don't rich people do philanthropy like that anymore? Where is that from the big companies or the like you said, Rockefeller, right? Almost the Elon Musks of the world. Where is that general, helping the community out a little bit too?
Well, everyone has their math guy, right? And they're just sitting there looking at the numbers, they're crunching them, and they're like, how do we maximize profit so that our investors feel the best about our company?
Right.
They're not thinking spend money to make money. Like a lot of companies think that way until they grow to a certain point, and then all of a sudden it's how can we make sure our bottom line is
Well, they got a lot of pressure from the shareholders, right? I mean, if you're a publicly traded company, then people want to see their portfolios go up, and it's hard to do that when you're philanthropy and giving some of that stuff away. It's kind of a catch-all, catch-22 a little bit for them. So
100% it is. Yeah.
So,
And therein lies the problem is if you want that to happen, you've got to get the board of directors of Anthropic, of OpenAI together and be like, for them to decide is a good idea, right? And even then, you might have a mutiny with the shareholders, right? The people who are investing hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'm sure they would. I don't think they're going to care about. Once you're that certain size, it's almost like, do you care that people are mad at you?
Right.
Is it going to stop you from generating profit?
Yeah.
No, then it's not worth the
essentially
investment.
what you need is a group of far-sighted investors, which I think to a certain extent investors are looking long-term.
They are.
Are they looking that long-term?
Right.
Where I might have my money tied up in this for 20 years before I start seeing returns. Maybe that's not the play they want.
Right.
But to get that many people into one room to make that decision is already hard enough.
Yeah, if you're a public company, you kind of live and die by the quarter. So it's really hard to think, 20 years down the line, because most likely you're not going to be invested in that company 20 years down the line. Now, it could happen, right? Especially if a company blows up and stays huge. Like I know there's, early investors in like Microsoft, who stuck with it for a long time, but if you don't have that play, there's no incentive to think that way.
Right.
I don't think.
You could just set it up as like two scenarios, right? Number one, someone shows up, they offer you $20,000 up front, and then they say it's going to be a little annoying, it might be a little loud, but we're going to construct a fountain in the front of your neighborhood that's going to increase the prices of all of your houses by $50,000 or something. Then
Great
you
fountain.
are probably maybe willing to take that $20,000 up front, know that $50,000 is on the back end, and deal with the annoyance for the next year or whatever it's going to be. Well, if someone just shows up to you and says, just donate your blood to this leech, and then it will, extract the, it'll produce the healing substance that'll cure all diseases. And you're sitting there like, you want my blood? And that's the same thing as,
That's an interesting analogy. I have no idea how you got there.
I'm not sure those are related enough.
Okay. They're not directly, but they're both more accurate representations of how this is, right? Like, we're going to spend more on energy. We're going to have to deal with this noise up front. Nothing else in our pockets. We're going to give them our money that we worked hard for extra to the government with no guarantees of anything and no evidence really that it's going to do that, but everybody believes it's just going to deliver. That's where AI is right now, and that's not something that anyone views positively in their neighborhood.
No,
right?
in fact, I saw an article this morning, and it was interesting because we've talked about this before about AI hasn't caught up yet with the public. I mean, we've talked about this before, and some of the products that we use, and when AI is sort of mediocre, and even when it's good, which I think ours is ours extremely good, and that it still gets that negative connotation when people are interacting with it, right? So, and in some senses, that's exactly what some of the data center issues are having with people. Don't want the AI in their area. They don't want. There's a lot of negativity around that, and we hear it. Even our AI, which is really good, people go, yes, let me speak to a human, and so. Now you just, with a data center, it's just multiple, just the same thing, same issues, just, multiply it by 1,000 times, right? So it's running into the same issues that people are having about the acceptance of AI. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it's a change thing. I don't know if people just don't want to change. I've referred back to, sorry about that. I referred back to where we were recording phone calls for the first time, and people go, I don't want my voice recorded, and they wouldn't talk to it. They wouldn't even. And when as soon as they heard it was being recorded, they hang up. Same kind of really big time pushback. Where's that come from? Is it change? People are just afraid of change? Are they, because they overcame the recording. People, all calls are recorded now, and people don't care.
Well, a lot
They're
of the
fine with
sentiment around AI right now is that it's a bubble that will pop, and people don't like what it's doing. Economically, they don't like how overly invested we are in it.
Did the average person out there, do they care about that?
I think
I don't
they're
think
a little
it's-
worried about it.
I think some people might be
Economically.
worried about the economic impacts, especially when you see all the talk about the circular funding and all that. And, there's doomers out there saying the stock market's going to implode any day now, right?
But they're always out there.
Exactly, but
Right.
right now it's just about AI. So you hear a lot
yeah.
of AI negativity
Sure.
through that. However, I think on top of that, it's just that I mean, I keep personally going back to, those first couple of years when it was coming out, AI was really starting to roll out. People weren't familiar with what it was. And you still hear people talk like this sometimes where they go, AI is really smart. And that to me is just like a little microcosm of the whole larger conversation about it, where everyone was saying how smart it was, how capable it was, how great it was going to be. And that always got framed as, okay, how many people can we fire? How many people can we lay off, right? How many jobs can we replace? And all these hype articles about, you're going to lose your job. You're going to, if you're a blank worker, here's the top careers at threat by AI. And it's like, I think a lot of the hate just came from overhyping what it could do. Right. Especially when you're hearing that it's everything and it's going to do everything. And then you use it and, it says something, Parmesan meatball pizza. what are you looking for? Right. Kind of a silly joke to bring up, I guess, on the podcast. But, I think you just get really tired. I think for most people, it's just they're really freaking tired of hearing about how great AI is, how this, how that. It's dominated the conversation for the last 4 years.
It's like anything else. I mentioned the Tao last week, and in the Chinese philosophy, they talk about the pendulum swinging all to one end, and eventually it swings back, and it comes and eventually gets back to the middle. So what I hear you saying is that pendulum was all AI, and people went, negative, now it's starting to come back, and it's past the midline, back the other direction, and eventually get back to the middle, and then maybe that's when acceptance comes, right? So I'd have to talk to a psychologist or psychiatrist about that. I'm not sure which.
To your point, I think a lot of it is just change.
Yeah.
Because like you said, calls being recorded, phone trees, I just want to speak to a human. Now we're all pretty well-versed on phone trees. And I think honestly, part of it is the generations that grow up with the technology.
There you go. Got it.
Well, I don't have any problem with phone trees. It's just if I'm going to call a company, I'm going to get a phone tree. And okay. I've always had that basically. Right. And so because I've always had that, I've always had texting. I've always had being able to reach somebody without having to call them, without having to, whether it's instant message or whatever.
Could it be a broader thing too? Could it be let's say my generation and even older? It appears that we're the ones that have the problem with technology. Is because maybe we just don't know it and we feel uncomfortable. Now I happen to know it really well, but there's a lot of people that are my age, that baby boomer generation, that really doesn't know that technology and really don't know. And they're maybe a little nervous of it, and then all of a sudden they see something even more crazy, right? It talks back to you. Oh my gosh! You see images that look exactly like me. Oh my gosh! Maybe that's not images like 3D images and that kind of stuff. Maybe hear my voice, AI coming out of an AI, kind of thing. So maybe it just scares them.
I don't think it's just change in technology. I feel like that's a lot of it. But when the change in technology, think about biologically. It replaces some type of human interaction. Okay. I think that's where people really, it makes your whole life a little less happy almost. if you are talking to a machine more often than you're talking to a person, that's something because everywhere you call right now, they're trying AI.
Right.
Yeah. And it's super dystopian, very cyberpunk or Blade Runner, are you even talking to a real person? Imagine it gets good enough, you can't even tell.
Right.
Right. And it's adamant enough to say that it's a real person, that you couldn't get truth out of it. Just
then you're going to have to go outside.
Right. You really have to go outside until the replicants arrive. And then now you really can't tell.
Let's not scare people too much. Let's go. All right. So, guys, I just want to talk just a minute or two really quickly about testing. And so,
are we doing the fun? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, let me to testing first, then we'll get to the quick fun thing that Hunter's got for us. So, but I just want to talk a a little bit about testing.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get to the testing.
No, I know. Yeah, that's why we won't spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to spend some time because we're going through it right now, and just it's interesting when we get down to how you test software and how you just problem solve in general, right? And because I see so many people struggle with the problem solving process, and this is from a business standpoint or anything, right? And it's interesting. Testing software and problem solving, they kind of have to join together to be successful at Q&A and anything, right? And it could be just a problem, or it could be just, and I think I'm going to go back to a little bit, and I'm curious. When I grew up to where you guys grew up, Did they teach that in schools, problem solving and kind of that kind of stuff? Did they do a good job at teaching that kind of stuff?
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, I mean, you're a math, so you're always about solving problems.
Yeah.
So your world is about that. But I mean, for those of us that weren't, graduated from the University of Michigan with a math degree, as younger, did they do a good job? Here's what I learned about testing, right? And I've tested lots of software. You guys know this. I've been around technology my entire life, built a lot of software. I always want to make sure that we go back to where we were perfect, right? So I have an issue with a piece of software. Something's not working the way it is. And to really get it working, you always want to go to where I always say your safe ground. When was it actually working the way it was supposed to, right? And then build from there, right? And it could be all the way back to the beginning, right? But you have to find that moment when in time things were working. And then, okay, what did we do from there to make it break, right? How did it go from here to here to here to here instead of here, right? So I like to say from a testing and a QA standpoint, you go back, and it's the same thing with problem solving, right? It's like who's the gentleman that did all the process stuff? It's looking upstream in a process, right? Or downstream really in a process. So you've got this process, right, of how you do things in manufacturing and things like that. Okay, so we've got this output, but the output's bad. Okay, how far upstream do we have to go to figure out, okay, that's where it breaks right there. And that's what's causing this, even though this is not a direct correlation to this. It could be because this happened to this and this happened to this. It could be indirect. Go back to your math stuff, right? When you're trying to conclude, and I really don't know math very well, so just, I know math, just don't know it like you. All right, so at the end, if I'm trying to get to a conclusion, somewhere up here, if the formula is broken, right, it's going to maybe have a really bad output, right?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. You get the wrong number, and then you're going to get the wrong final number. Yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So Q&A and testing is really very similar. I just don't remember being taught. I don't remember being taught that in school.
I don't think they taught that. I think one thing they don't do a great job of in school is teaching multi-step problem solving. Like if you get a problem, if they just asked you, can you just do some research for us on teaching? Nobody would know where to start. All of school right now is broken down into step by step. We're doing this. We're going from here to here to here. Here's the rubric. You just have to do this, 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 and this. And that's what you do. And so once you get to college and they just give you a research project, you're like, okay, they didn't teach us this. And you just have to do it. So
right.
I think that's where the break is.
So you think there could be a better way to do that early on? Right? I can't tell you how many people I talk to that just don't know some of that basic maybe it's multi-step process of thinking or problem solving thinking. They don't think of it that, hey, if this is broken here, I got to go way upstream to figure out when it was actually, I don't know why. And I go back to maybe the schools didn't do a real good job at teaching them.
Yeah.
So what I think we're grateful, I'm personally grateful for, is all three of you think that way, which is great, because you probably because stronger for math, because you and I have done it for so many years, and you just are naturally talented.
Hey.
Hey.
I was gonna say.
Did you do a Fonz thing there a little bit? I saw a Fonz thing. Hey, yeah. All right.
One thing that was hammered into me, we went to a school attached to our church for the first, up through like fourth grade. And they were really big. I don't know why, but like on context clues. It sounds so simple and so okay, but I can. Not every single day, but so often point to, this is why I came to this conclusion, because of all the things I could gather from the data I didn't have. You know what I mean? Just from the context of the situation. And so I think that is incredibly important too. And I think that's also kind of packaged in with the whole problem solving thing. But I've always been thankful for just that being kind of hammered into your head or into my head, is like, this isn't working. Like, let's look outside of that problem and see what is affecting it. I think it's very similar to what you're saying, going upstream. Yeah. More of like in a spatial versus linear, but still it's like this one little thing could be affecting it that we don't think about because it's not part of this problem. Right. But because this is here, it's like, oh, okay.
That could be.
That's why.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it does a pretty good job of like kind of breaking that down to a degree and explaining it a little bit and giving some good examples. Funny enough, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
There's that whole section right at the beginning about was it the English bike team? I can't remember exactly which bike team it was.
Yeah.
About how they basically were trying to figure out how to make themselves go faster. So they started looking at all these different, things that you wouldn't think about. They broke everything down into the smallest little bits that they can do. That's something the book's really big on, right? Hence the atomic part, right? You break stuff down into really, really small steps, basically, and small little parts of the process. And by just improving those tiny little bits, then you get a greater output on the
You
whole.
guys have convinced me now to read that book because I had not read that book. It's in my shelf. I have not got a chance to read it, but I'm now going to read it. It's a good idea. All right.
It's the whole idea that you have a fraction of improvement on this tiny thing. Well, then you also have it on this tiny thing and this tiny thing and this tiny thing. So all together.
And it compounds over time.
Right. Fascinating. Okay. Can't wait to see that. Or can't wait to read it, I should say. Good. Awesome. Fun stuff.
Fun stuff,
What do you want to do? What do you want to do, Hunter? Hunter, what do you want?
What are we doing?
Since we're a little short on time, we'll do one app you can't live without.
Oof.
One.
It can't be like standard iOS or Android.
It's got to be a specific app.
A specific
Can't
app.
live without.
I know mine. All right.
My CT.
I hope one of us says that. We all just said it. My corporate trainer. Of course, that's
swipe down on your phone and
Can't
see
live
what
without
is
it.
the what is your phone
I cannot live.
recommend?
We cannot live without it. It's our job. We can't live without it. We have our job. So that's a really good one.
Can't
actually.
be a.
I,
Oh man.
Let's see. What is the app? I can't.
Can't live without.
That's like
It's wild.
okay.
you can't live without or don't want to live without? That's a good question. Either or.
Either or,
Okay,
okay.
got it. Either or.
Okay.
Either. I don't have to look at mine. You guys don't know what app?
I don't. I mean,
For me, it's like 4 apps. So
Well, that's okay. You got to pick one now. Pick one. All right, I'll go.
Go.
You gonna listen?
we're gonna listen.
Okay, good. Awesome. Mine is I have a sleep app.
Ooh.
Yep. And it monitors my sleep every night. I had sleep apnea. I probably still have sleep apnea. I don't know if
You
you get
replaced your
cues
sleep
from that.
apnea with sleep app.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, that's pretty funny. You're a pretty funny guy. All right, awesome. Goes along with the beard, I guess. I don't know. Must be. Well, you guys with the hairy faces. So what is that all about? But anyway, yeah. So I have a sleep app. So I can manage my sleep. So it's obviously sleep is one of those really critical things. I will tell you when I was building my first several companies, sleep and those two things didn't go hand in hand. I did not do a really good job. And I don't know if you form sleep apnea, but I had sleep apnea, and I was surprised the doctors when I went and saw them because it was one of those, like, there are certain criteria usually you follow into, and I didn't follow on those criteria. But anyway, but yeah, so I monitor my sleep every night. So I literally need to do that, and I can tell you right, now I gotta get the better feel because of the app. It was able to, that's why I feel this way. I only got 4 hours of sleep, and then I didn't get any deep sleep, and then I realized, that's why I'm tired all day, right? Because I just didn't get the proper sleep that I had. But if I get the proper sleep, and I can see it, it's really, really helpful. And for me, it moves me through the day. So that's mine.
It's a great one.
All right, what else? What you guys got?
So I would say my calendar app, but I know that's kind of a basic app.
Yeah.
That's kind of vanilla, isn't it?
Well, I have 3 calendars that I have to follow between mine, a calendar, a family calendar.
That was
and
an
a wife's
inside
calendar.
joke on the vanilla thing, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
So,
We were making fun of his shirt because it looks vanilla.
if there was another one, it would be. I mean, it's whether it's
You gonna get around to
ChatGPT
telling
or
us this
Claude,
app?
one of the AI apps, because it's been very helpful in game planning and working through problems on other ideas that I have, little websites that I build or whatever.
Okay.
So I would say I would not want to get rid of that.
One of your AI apps?
Yeah. Claude. Claude. Right now it's Claude. But
Okay, got it. All right, that's fair.
Okay.
That's
A
fair.
lot of people watching right now, like, what happened to the creative process?
Yeah, exactly. Weren't we
But here's the
just
thing.
talking about
Yeah.
this? You're a creative guy.
Yeah.
Now I realize
Yeah.
it's Claude, not you.
You want to know something is just as a side note? Figma has an AI, like Figma Make, and you can have
right.
it create designs. I just used it for the first time yesterday, and I was pretty blown away.
Really?
So, FYI, I've not used AI in any of our designs.
Starting.
I was going to say,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
planning on it.
Now I'm
but
going to question it after this,
it was
right?
It was quite good. I mean, it's just a website. It wasn't a
Right,
whole
right,
app,
exactly.
But and a simple one at that. But
All right. What do you got?
For me, it's just definitely YouTube. Like,
Okay.
if there's like a number one app I use the most, it's going to be YouTube.
YouTube TV? Or you just
No,
YouTube? Just YouTube.
And
Oh,
I'm-
okay.
a lot of the time it's podcasts. Like, I just want to have something on.
Sure.
YouTube's really cool because it'll have the autoplay in the corner of your screen.
Yeah.
So even when I'm doing anything else, it's still in the corner of my screen showing me a video or I'm listening to something and trying to either learn or, get through my day. And then the other one would be ESPN, although just for the same reason.
Sure.
I can pull up a Cardinals game, get that in the corner of the screen. Hasn't been going well recently, but
Go White
still.
Sox. Go White Sox.
You can always cheer your team on.
What's yours?
Mine's very simple. Spotify.
Oh, very good
Sounds
one.
like
I
a
forgot about
similar
Spotify.
reason.
Similar reason.
Well,
But yeah, I listen to music.
entertainment, yeah.
Every time I'm in the car, while I'm working, at night, while I'm doing yard work, dishes, all those chores. Like, I don't know. I love music, and being able to listen to it all the time is fantastic.
And whatever you want.
And wherever I want.
Wherever and whenever and whatever you want. That's kind of nice.
However.
Whoever,
We got them all?
I could listen to whoever.
whenever.
Them all.
Whenever.
Them all. There you go. We can listen to them all. All right. With that, that was fun, guys. That was a good time. All right. Great. I like yours better than my answer. Mine was more like vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of
gross.
But yeah.
I don't know. I'm not
That
sure
was
it gets much more
gross.
vanilla than Spotify, guys. I mean,
Well,
that's
kind of. That's just kind of.
That's pretty basic.
All right. Okay. So, yes.
All right.
With that said, you want to wrap it up?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for watching episode 8. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.